in this life, whether that's sunrise, whether that's art, whether that's watching a movie or spending time with family and friends. All these gifts come from your hand. Never a deserved thing, never something we're owed or entitled to. Every blessing comes from you, and it is a product of grace. And even more specifically, it is something that comes because Christ himself died on the cross for sinners. And then in that is every promise of God and every hope of God. And every good thing that happens to us, while even we are in unbelief, is intended to draw us to Christ and his gospel. So we pray that as we come today again to set our hearts and minds to the task of learning Greek, that it would cause us to ponder and reflect how good you are. You've given us language, you've given us the capacity to communicate one mind to another, you've given us the gift of song and music, you've given us this gift of poetry and of being able to say truth to each other. These are miraculous things, really. Every time we open our mouths, the word comes out of our mouth. That's a miraculous thing. And so we want to treasure the opportunities we have every day to learn about you, to grow in you, to serve the people of God, and to share your word to others. We ask then that that's what would happen today as we share time together. Bless our minds, bless our thoughts as we set our attention to this task of learning Greek. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, let me make sure I think we're streaming. And for the sake of Jared, our friend here, let's review the alphabet song. The alphabeta song, I guess. And you have, I don't know, like 4 or 5 minutes to memorize this, Jared, so. Okay.
Yeah, easy.
So let's start. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. The QR code to that song is right there, Jared, if you want to rock out to that on your way home. Okay. Well, today we're going to cover some additional prepositions. We covered prepositions, I forgot if it's chapter 5 or so. And those are all prepositions in one case, so we're just going to learn some more prepositions. But before we do that, do we have any questions so far? Lessons 1 to 7, or 2 to 7? I mean, a ton, I'm sure.
I had a question.
Oh, yeah. You had one on your previous homework I can answer.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
So, you had a question about the word tekna,
Yeah.
which means children or little children. And this is in the plural, masculine or accusative. I'm sorry, nominative or accusative. So the nominative is a fancy word for the subject of the sentence, of course. Accusative is the object. And the question was that it took a third person singular, despite being a plural, third person singular verb. So I forgot if it was, I don't know, akue.
Yeah, akue.
Oh, akue, okay. So akue, and of course in the paradigm, it goes o, ace, a, men, te, usi. So the a there is a third singular. And that would not seem to match the singular part with this plural. There's a note in Black's grammar that plural neuter nouns regularly take third person singular verbs. That's all. That's just what happens. So we might think of it like, I don't know if there's an English example, because to us it sounds weird, like children is, or children Yeah, children is here at the church, and some children are here at the church. But in Greek, the neuter plurals, they frequently take third singulars. There might be a reason for that, or it just might be.
It happens in Spanish too, like la gente,
Yeah.
the people.
Yeah.
It's that's a plural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some words that are like that refer to a group, but you treat them as a singular. I guess you can think of it like that. Yeah, that's a good example. Okay, did you find the one you were thinking?
I did.
Yes.
So I'm noticing when you talk about God.
Yes.
It's the.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say.
So the definite article ha there. So this means the, and then theos, like theology, God, the God. So this is in English we don't translate it. It just for Greek, like we're talking about a specific God. We're talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so to speak. So they put the definite article there. So yeah, you don't have to translate it when you do it in your exercises. You don't have to put the.
Okay.
And I know you guys have been putting like you all for the second person plural. Now the Sam's been doing it too. I think because Gail might have been doing it too. It's okay just to put you, because in English technically that is both singular and plural, right? I could say you and I could be talking about you and it's every one of you, or I could be talking about you and that's singular. If you want to make the distinction for your own sake, then you can do this. Just I fear if you get into the practice of that, you're going to all turn into Southerners rather than Greek speakers. So you could also do like this when you write you in plural like that, or all, or just you can do this. Just know, don't. If you ever take a class, like a formal class, and you're getting graded, and you do that, they're going to wonder if you're from the South. Okay, but yes, so what's happening is the definite article is there because you're not talking about what is in quality or nature God. Now it's interesting you bring that up. If you don't mind a quick aside, again, this is going to be a relatively short lesson. In John 1 then, it's somewhat significant because John 1, it's in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? It's, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and when it says with God, that's ton theon. And this is the definite article, and this is the accusative ending, right? Second declension, masculine accusative, osculo on. But then it says, and this is the part that's interesting, and we would typically translate it, and the Word was God, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the actual Greek word order, it's like this. Oops. Okay? And this is the imperfect of aim. So what do you notice here? You know all these words. This is word. Logos is word. Theos is God. What are some things you notice, at least as far as the Greek versus the English? So we would say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Yeah, God was the Word.
Yeah. So one thing, the word order is different. That in the Greek, actually God comes before the word part, right? And God was the Word. So, what also do you notice about this?
There's no definite article.
Yeah.
And there was earlier.
No definite article. So there's two things to note about this at the least. And this is a very Trinitarian thing actually. Is when we see this way, it's almost certainly meant to be a contrast between the God that's there and the Word was with God, with the God, and God was the Word. We're almost certainly saying that whatever this is not the same as this. this Word that is God is not the same as the God that the Word is before. So they're distinct. The Word is distinct. This is distinct. Not only that, the relationship between the Logos and Theos, because it's saying it's not by identity identical to the Father, right? This is talking about God the Father, and the Word was before God, with God. So that's God the Father. So the Word is not identical to this, the Father. But He is by quality and nature, because when you don't have a definite article, you're talking about the quality and nature, essence of that thing, not the particular identity of it. So you're saying, though, that this Logos is fully God, though. Deity and characteristic in nature. So maybe it's saying too much. I don't think it is. This little phrase here is both saying the Son is the Logos, which is Jesus, is distinct from the Father, but in identity equal in deity, right? In nature and essence. So does that kind of track as we're talking about how the different article works? We're talking about relationships. That's what we're always talking about, is relationships. So this is the clearest way. This is the clearest way to demonstrate that Jesus is distinct from the Father, but fully deity, as the Father is. So I think that's kind of neat, just from the word order. And I don't know why they don't translate it in this word order. Does it sound funny? In the beginning was the Word was with God, and God was the Word.
That sounds good.
Get more clarity.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you want to hear my guess why they don't do it that way? Now that I think about it, because maybe it sounds too much like if you put them back to back, that the Son is the Father. So in the beginning was the Word was with God, and God, like that God, was the Word. Right? Like it makes it sound like Word, God, Word, so they must be the same thing.
They're trying to differentiate it.
Yeah, so in English, maybe because we don't have the same distinction between the definite article and lack of it, to create kind of the space made more of a distinction that we're not talking about the same thing. So maybe that's why. These are the kind of things translators are thinking, how does that sound? Oh, does that not really communicate if we say God, the Word was before God and God was the Word. So, versus the Word was God. Something to think about. Okay, got a little bit of tangent there, but maybe that's helpful to you. Any other questions?
I've got another one.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Oh. So in number 5 on chapter 5, it
Mhm.
says, grapse apostolos parabolen tois oikos.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Good.
just kind of close.
Yeah.
Where do you get for the crowds? Why would you choose that preposition there?
Which chapter is this?
This is
It's
chapter 5.
exercise 5.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, I don't know if it helps to write it out, but we'll do it.
So it's a dative masculine plural.
Mhm.
Tois oiklois. Oiklois. And so it's ochlois. Thank you. So it's the crowds.
Yeah.
Dative masculine plural. Why the choice for? Or is it just the most obvious choice?
So usually, I would have translated it to.
Okay.
The apostle will write a parable to the crowds.
That's what I had.
Yeah, but black has for the crowd.
That's for.
It might be, that would be a interpretational choice.
Okay.
Like if you came across this exact wording, the dative can be used, it's typically used as a to, it can be used as for, even like behalf of or something like that. So I would say that context would determine whether this is something that's happening on for the sake of, which might have more of a purpose to it. Like I will write this for you. You know what? Now that I think about it, it might be even like a difference of ideas about writing something. Like if I'm writing a parable, for example, I would be in the context of a policy. You're doing that for the crowd. Like the letters are written for you as much as they're to you. You know, when Paul writes his letters, like it's for the sake of, on maybe half of, for the benefit of the Ephesians or the Romans or whatever. It's not just that he's writing to them. Like here's a letter. It says, I suppose, there's a connotation there, right? They need this, and so I will write this for them. But it can go either way. It's an interpretational choice. It's funny that Black takes a stance on it that way. But I would say that's definitely up to interpretation, and I would probably have just done two declarations. Okay, good question. I wouldn't mark that wrong because it's an interpretation. There's nothing clear about.
Four does sound more correct. If you think of two, I'm writing a letter to you. So it's directly a letter to you.
Right.
But if
And
you
no one
write
else.
a parable,
Yeah.
it's not really a letter.
Yeah.
That's something for you.
It's like a teaching thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not really to you.
Yeah.
Because it could be for other people too.
Yeah, it's
So
for the.
I could see where.
And that's probably has to do with the idea of writing, and maybe even more importantly, the idea of the purpose of a parable. So maybe because it's a parable, parables are for people, not to people. Maybe that's one way to just think of it. Like a parable is for you to understand or grasp some truth. It's not just something, here, take this. Neither is a letter, I suppose. Those are all good interpretational questions to ask if you're translating or translation. But I won't make it wrong. Any other questions? Sam, do you have a question?
I got
Okay, yes.
another one.
Yes, no
That's
problem.
okay. So I'm looking at chapter 5, number 8,
Mm-hmm.
where it's the prophet of God writes the words of Scripture.
Yes.
So in general, there's this idea of the word order doesn't matter.
Yes.
But I was looking at how you have the nominative and the genitive right there with it, like you kind of have to pile the prophets of God together.
Yes.
Otherwise you're just ending up with this word soup.
Yes.
So is there a rule for that?
Yes. So I suppose you could, if you put like tu theou, like at the beginning, like tu theou graphe, tu slogos graphes, prophetes. Like, is it the words of right? The words, it's like of God or the words of the prophet. So the genitive is going to be close to the nominative or in another noun that it's associated with. It will be close.
Okay.
So it's never going to be
Translate.
like super far away or anything
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Perfect. And then on the number 11, the Messiah's apostle receives the synagogue's gifts. You could also say gifts from the synagogues. That's just interchangeable, right?
Say that again.
So
The apostles
number
of the-
11, the
yeah.
Messiah's apostle receives the synagogue's gifts or gifts from the synagogues. Would it be equally as valid, or?
Receives the synagogue's gifts and not translate the apostles.
Oh, I don't think there's an upon there. Oh, wait, no, there is.
Yeah.
Oh,
It would functionally mean the same thing.
yeah, because it's got the of.
Yeah.
So it would be gifts of the synagogues. But,
So all the apa does there. I think my writing gets worse every day. What the prepositions can do is give clarity to, especially in the dative and the genitive, in my opinion, but also sometimes the accusative, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It can give more clarity to what kind of dative it is or genitive it is. So This is when we see Apa, Ton, Sunagogon. What am I'm going to stop trying to spell stuff. This is genitive. We know more specifically what kind of genitive this is. Like I said, most of the grammar issues that you are going to get into interpretation questions about is between the genitive and the dative, because they cover so much ground grammatically of what it could be. Genitive of source, dative of location, like there's a lot of different kinds, and sometimes these even overlap. What can be helpful is if you have a preposition that helps to clarify the type of genitive or dative it is. That's what we're going to talk about today. In this case, we know that it's from the synagogue. It may not be let's say it this way, there's a genitive of a possession and like a genitive of source, I guess. Genitive possession is like, these are mine. The Messiah's apostle. That's a genitive of possession. It's the one belonging to the Messiah. It's an apostle who's, maybe these gifts are not actually the synagogue's gifts by possession, but it's coming from them. Maybe it's a gift actually from another group of apostles. They left it with the synagogue, and now the synagogue is sending it out. So it's from them, but it's not necessarily that. I know that's like a subtle thing, but that's the kind of thing that might make a difference, so to speak. So the preposition is helping us out there to see where it's coming from, or what kind of genitive it is.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well then, let's remind ourselves of prepositions. And a preposition is a word that creates a relationship to another word. And usually it can tell you location, time, even things like a purpose or logic. So prepositions are helper words, helping us to understand the relationship between other words or other clauses. We typically think of them in English just like words that describe location. I think like by, over, under. But they also serve like logical kinds of connections as well. And so far we've learned 4 prepositions that always take a single case, meaning you have the nominative, the genitive, the dative, the accusative case, and these prepositions we've already learned always take one of those cases. The first one is apa, which we were just talking about, from. And it has somewhat of a directionality to it, away from. And so I received the book from the brother apa to Adelphu. We have also ace, the second one we learned, which means into. Sometimes it can mean unto, meaning for. So that's a little bit confusing. That's always in the accusative case, though. And we talked about ek, which means out of. And you'll actually find a lot of English words, if it has a x or an ek at the beginning of it, it's probably from the Greek ek here. So I was thinking on the way here, it's explosion probably is from it. And I wonder if it comes from ekbalo. Balo is to throw, ek is out, to throw out. So ekbalo is actually the word that they use for like casting out demons. So it's the word for throw out, but I wonder if explode is ekbalo. I don't know. It could be wrong. I was thinking, what is the etymology of explode? So I'll look that up for you. Didn't have a chance to look it up because I was driving. Ek is you see it a lot. Ectopic pregnancy, I think we talked about that, is out of place. It's a pregnancy out of place, a normal place. And for an always in the dative case, it's just in, within, sometimes by, with, or among. And you think, why can it cover such a vast range of meaning? Because with, by does not sound like another way to think of the word in. Like within, I get. With, I even get. But why? By. It just, words can start to become flexible over time in terms of their meaning. You just think of slang. Right? Slang words are always common words that just change meaning very quickly into something almost totally different. It just, you get that with common words. You start ending up using prepositional phrases. One of the words I love is standing, because you can add a preposition in front of it and you get so many different words. You get understanding, upstanding, withstanding, right? And those are like, you add a preposition and it just totally changes the meaning of the word. So it's the sort of thing that happens when prepositions are involved, because they are fundamentally about relating words to other words and changing the meaning of words by relating them to another sometimes. So today we're going to look at words or prepositions that occur in two or more cases. Meaning, with all of these ones, they always take the genitive, always take the accusative, always take the genitive, always take the dative. These ones, they can take two cases and they will mean something, sometimes slightly, sometimes vastly different from the other. Okay? So, the first one is dia. And when you see it in the genitive case, it means through. Dia, tes, ges, through the earth. What is diameter? It's a measurement taken through a circle, right? The line through the circle. Diameter, through. So almost every occurrence in English of something like dia is like a through. If you think about it, I can only think of diameter, but there's probably dialogue.
Diadem.
Diadem. I'm not sure what that means. I know what that is, but I don't know what the dem part means. Maybe. But dialogue, like log is from logos, words. So words that are going through to each other, like across to each other. Maybe. I think that's the idea behind a dialogue, is the words going through each other. Second kind of use in the accusative, though, is because of. So it's kind of like those two have totally different ideas with them, right? Going through something and something being because of something. But if you see it in the genitive, it's going to be through. If you see it in the accusative, it's going to be a because. Now, some of these where they have vastly different meanings, usually only one of the translations is going to make sense. So if I saw dia tes ges, does it make sense it's because of the earth? If we're talking about, the gospel must go through to the whole nations of the earth or something, it probably doesn't make sense because of. So sometimes, even if you don't quite remember, what does this dia mean in the genitive, or what does it mean in the accusative, sometimes the context is going to narrow it down for you. But you could see how, if you forgot about this, is this because of the Lord or through the Lord? Meaning, I have peace through the Lord. And because of the Lord, now sounds like, maybe that does have a connection. Now that I think about it, maybe through and because do have a little bit of a connection, because if I thought I have peace through the Lord, is that not saying something similar to I have peace because of the Lord? So maybe that's where the connection came through in Greek as well. I'm not sure about that. But because of the Lord there is the accusative. It's more of a logical connection, right? Because it's relating it to some previous clause, right? This happened because of this. Whereas through is definitely more directionally oriented. Dia with a genitive is frequently used with a passive verb to express intermediate agency by. It says see, and there's a blank there, but it's because there's a little funky symbol paragraph that didn't show up, but you can look in your book. So this is in a passive verb where the verb, the ball was hit by Peter, you could say dia Peter. And that would give you the intermediate agency. Who did it? It was Peter. Okay, any questions about that? Yes.
So this is kind of a dumb question, but just to cement this in my mind. So when you're talking about the entire prepositional phrase, you have the preposition, and then the rest of the phrase is what's going to be in the genitive or the dative.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And then the name Peter would change. Are you saying it would change?
It would be in the, it would, if I said like by Peter or
Yeah.
dia Peter, then you'd put that thing in the genitive.
But, I mean, does a proper noun change in Greek?
Yeah,
Because it's the
they have
object.
declensions too. Is that
And
your
my
question?
name has declension.
Yes.
Okay.
Jesus' name has declensions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, yeah.
Okay.
So I think in Jesus is nominative, and I think Yesun is accusative. I could be remembering that wrong. But yeah, there's declensions to names, yeah.
Proper names change.
Yeah. In fact, but yeah. Yes, names have declensions. Okay. Any other questions about that? Second one, kata. Kata. You have against in the genitive. So kata tu namu is against the law. And, namas is law. In English, you get a lot of words that end with nami, N-O-M-Y, like astronomy. It's the law of the stars, study of the stars, something like that. Taxonomy, and so on. So it like logos became like logy and biology and everything else, and became sort of like synonymous with the study of that thing. Nami actually became very similar in terms of use as well. So Nami became another way to talk about, in English at least, the study of something. Now, it's interesting. Vast difference between astronomy and astrology in English, right? There's vast, some might say, oh, they're pretty much the same thing. But astrology being like, star signs, Cancer, Sagittarius, or whatever. And astronomy being the literal study of the actual stars. So, I would commend you to study astronomy and not astrology. Okay. In accusative, though, it means according to. So, if you look at every beginning of the gospel in most Bibles, it's the gospel according to John, the gospel according to Mark. In a Greek Bible, you would just see the words kata, Markon, or kata, Ioannis, or whatever it is. So these are very different, though. So almost certainly you're not going to confuse these. Oh well. Because you could say kata tu namu if you're talking, or kata ta naman, according to the law. But in the context, you're going to know, are you talking about something being against the law or being something according to the law? They almost are opposite meanings there. So you better have this right, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of times you can figure out, like kata markan, that's not going to be against Mark. So I guess I shouldn't do this to confuse you guys. I was trying to make the point that a lot of times you can look at it and like, even if you forgot, the genitive is which one? Well, I have two choices, through or because, against or according to. Which one makes more sense here? So I was trying to help, but maybe that's not very helpful, so I apologize. So common New Testament idiom is kath hemeron. Now you notice here, that does not look like kata. And what happens is, as we've seen before with other words and prepositions, where you have two vowels next to each other, you tend to drop one of them. In this case, not only did you drop the alpha, but because hemeron has a rough breathing mark, this tau became a theta. We'll talk about it in a second anyway, but that's what's happening here. Okay. Thirdly, we have meta. meta. And in the genitive, it means with, and in the accusative, it means after. Now this is like the same meta for like metamorphosis and all kinds of other words that have meta at the beginning. And so hopefully that's not too unfamiliar for you to see. But in the genitive with, and the accusative after. I'll stop making comments or trying to be helpful. Okay. Fourthly, peri. And in the genitive, it means about, and the accusative, it means around. There's definitely more of a physical, almost locational idea in the accusative versus the more logical or literary use in the genitive, talking about something. Although we can talk about in the, going around something. Sometimes we do talk about the boat was going about the bay, and you kind of mean it's going around the bay, right? So we can think of it that way. Maybe that's the intersection here. But in the genitive, you're typically talking about the gospel, or concerning is the way I typically translate peri, just to make it a little more clear. Concerning the gospel, peri, or around the sea, peritain, thalassane, or thalassane. We have a lot of words in English, perimeter, and so on, periscope, what else is there? Periscope, I guess that's it. What else are there?
After childbirth, they talk about perineums.
Yeah, perineums, yeah, okay. That's almost certainly related to this, so, okay. But I do like, I personally tend to translate this kind of use to concerning the gospel, about the gospel, the things pertaining to the gospel. All right, number 5, huper. Huper. In the genitive, it's for, huper, hamartion, for sins. Or above, in the accusative, again a little more locational kind of idea, huper, tain, gain, above the earth. Now sometimes it's helpful. See, this is sort of what's confusing, right? David Allen Black, in that exercise you're talking about, translating the dative tois oculois for the crowds, you have a word that would literally mean that, you know what I mean, on the behalf of, or for, in the genitive with this preposition, if you wanted to be very clear. But it's a stylistic thing. Sometimes you don't want to say it. For them, it would have been a lot more natural, perhaps, to see, writing a parable for the crowds, and they would hear the dative, and maybe it would have been more natural just to think, oh yeah, that's for. It's not a to thing, it's a for thing. Just intuitively, like a native speaker would. And you and I, because we're trying to translate it and understand it, say, why didn't you make that so crystal clear? Absolutely no questions asked. Well, they were speaking their normal language and writing it, and for them that might have been as clear as day. But for us, it's a little bit obfuscating. Like we were talking about indefinite and definite articles in English. When do you use them? When do you not? We have technically 3 classes of articles in English. Not having one, having the indefinite and the definite. A, or and the, and the nothing. So when are you use any one of those 3? For us, it's very intuitive. We just do it. But for a non-native speaker, they struggle. When do you use it? When do you not? So there's so many things like that. Like, we have to just understand some things might have been very natural for them. Even some of the things like where they didn't like certain sounds together, for us, no problem. For the Greeks, that'd be a tongue twister. Anyway, so here's a way in the genitive to say for or on the behalf of. I tend to say more explicitly when I see huper, on the behalf of, rather than just a simple word for, because for can mean so many things in English too as a preposition. That's hardly clear. So how, if I want it to be clearer in the English what I mean that this is not, now let's say this. If I just saw the translation for sins, I might think dative, right? Just like that, the exercise. But if I put on the behalf of sins, then I know this is a genitive, most likely. And there's an addition, if I was doing English translation, and then there's a preposition, probably huper, in front of it. So we can make our own translations, our own thoughts clear about it, if we know. So, and that's, of course, a clear distinction from above. Huper, by the way, is where we almost get any English word for hyper. And hyper, we in English probably have more of the idea of above or beyond. So when we talk about hyper, it's like, something that's going above or beyond. So it's probably more from the accusative idea than the genitive. Although I wonder if there's not an English word we use hyper and we mean kind of in place of or for or on behalf of. But you certainly know hyper, and again, typically above and beyond is because probably using this locational kind of preposition and using it metaphorically, the way we would say. You went above and beyond the call of duty. Does that mean you just went higher than everyone else went on that job? No, he's talking metaphorically. Okay, hupa, number 6 there. In the genitive is by, hupa tu kuriu, by the Lord. In the accusative, it's under, hupa tengen, would be under the earth. So, again, there's kind of, at least with these 3, the second one seems more locationally oriented, either literally or metaphorically. And then the first has maybe more logically connecting words together. Now, in English, almost any word that starts hippo would be here, and almost always this meaning. So, what is a hypodermic needle? Well, dermis means skin. So, what does the needle do? Where does it go? Under the skin. Hypodermic needle. That's where we get that word from. Even, I think even like hypnosis. Like you're going under, So, under sleep. So, I'm almost positive that word comes from there. So, almost any word that hippo, besides hippopotamus.
Hypothyroidism.
Yeah, under, right? So your number's like under, right? Something's under. In a lot of medical terms, something's under. Hypoglycemic, right? So you can see that present in a lot of medical language. I took a Greek and Latin roots in English class at UCI, and they should have made it mandatory. I think it is mandatory for any pre-med people, because almost every word they use in the medical field has a Greek or Latin root. But then you start to realize, no, it's a lot of English has Greek and Latin. Now, I took that class after I took Greek. It's so easy. I sleptwalked through that class because I would study for tests for that class on the way, on the drive to school, and I aced that class. It was nice. It was one of few very easy classes. But it was good. It really was good because there's so many words that come from Greek and English, or Greek and Latin, especially if you're a medical student. So, any questions about these? So, peri, huper, hupa, they have, generally speaking, genitive, accusative, or not generally speaking, they have the genitive and accusative cases. The accusative tends to be a little bit more locational oriented. So, in these first 3, not quite so much. So this might be a little bit harder list. But this one I think you guys can get fairly easy. Any questions?
I'm just looking at hypocritai in the homework.
Yeah.
Like same thing, the hypocrite.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Maybe the idea is someone who's always judging, putting things under judgment. Or you are.
Because they were actors, weren't they?
Yeah. So it's the idea that maybe their real face is under a mask. It's fun to think of the etymology of these things. I can guess, but there's probably a real answer. But it's fun to guess too. who pocketed this? Yeah. Any other questions? Maybe give yourself a few helpful, memory tricks. The reason I banter like this is that maybe one thing randomly will stick that will help you remember everything. So, okay. Now there are some prepositions that occur in 3 cases. Oh my goodness, so hard. Actually, in these cases, they all mean the same thing no matter what the case is. So it's not hard. Phew. So you have epi, and it means upon in the genitive, dative, and accusative cases. And then para, which means from, with, or beside. So I guess that's not the same. Epi is the same in all the cases. Para, from, with, beside, that's a little bit more tricky. But you can, let's see. So the accusative again is more locationally oriented, beside. The genitive is helpful because the genitive is oftentimes a from, an of. It's coming out. Okay, so the genitive case typically something's like coming out or from it anyway, and the dative case is more like you're going towards it, to it, with it, by it. So maybe for para, memorizing that, it's helpful to think in general of what the genitive, dative, and accusative are. Accusative seems to be prepositions, at least a handful of them, more locational, so beside, the sea. And the dative, it's more like a to kind of thing, so I'm with the Lord. And in the genitive, more it's like out, like I'm coming out from it. The source is that noun, but I'm coming out from it, so from God. And para, it does, we have so many words in English that have para with it, like parabolic, and parable even, which is already Greek parabolic. It probably comes from a word that means like to throw beside. It's like a meaning that's beside another meaning. If you think about it, like I'm telling a parable, but the real meaning is not that. It's like a truth that's lying next to it, so to speak. In Greek, you do have a lot of words that combine with these words. Like the paraclete is another word for the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. It comes from that noun, paraclete, parakletos, comes from parakaleo. Parakaleo means to encourage, or to comfort, or to counsel. But literally, it's the word para, the preposition para, and then kaleo, which is to call. And someone who calls alongside, calls beside, calls with. And you're walking, it's like walking next to someone and being with them and calling to them. So the word, this one, ends up having a lot of metaphorical meanings as well. But in English, you have all kinds of paradigm. It's funny, because all those are Greek words anyway. They're all Greek words anyway, like it pre-existing. Okay, I'm babbling. So, any questions about the preposition 3 cases? Really, you don't need to worry about this one from P, because it's just all upon, but from para, it's from, with, beside. But maybe it's helpful to think of proximity. But in the accusative, it's a physical proximity beside. The dative, it's a going towards kind of proximity, so I'm with them. And genitive, from is that I'm close, but I'm going out from them. So there's a proximity, but I'm coming away from them. Dative is kind of more to them, with them. Accusative beside. Does that help? If not, totally fine. Okay. There are also a couple other, really just this one, ways to think of it, and this is where this diagram comes into play, and I think I gave you a copy of it. And if this is helpful at all, then go ahead and use this. If you could recreate this diagram, you'd probably be helping yourself out. But this is, again, just another tool if you're more of a visual person to visualize these prepositions. And they do, many of them have a visual representation, a locational kind of description. So notably, we didn't talk about ana, but ana means up. And kata means down in the genitive. All these other ones I think we've talked about, and they do have literal kind of locational sorts of connotations or denotations. So, any questions about any of these? I think you probably understand what's happening here if you remember what these prepositions mean. The only thing I'd probably do differently is say with compare. This is more like a over, and then upon is more like a right on top kind of thing. But other than that, this is pretty good. So ek is out of, a pause from. So you're in the middle of it, you're coming out of it, a pause is from it, through it, process towards it, ace is into it. So this is towards but not into, is into. So this is a really good diagram. That's why most grants actually use something like this diagram here.
The paper you gave us has the changes you just mentioned.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Cooper has a line.
Oh.
It's like,
Oh, okay. Oh.
it's even better.
Yeah, I thought I was so smart, but it's already done. I did not actually notice that before I made my comment. So okay. Well then. Great. So any questions about this preposition? All right. So, as I mentioned, there are some changes that occur to the words at times. It's called elision when a letter drops out. And what we have here is the elision of the last vowel when it is before another word that starts with a vowel. So, for example, here we have pa, del, flu. And you would take out the last letter of the preposition and you put in a little apostrophe to replace it. It's like the way we do this, right? So these two letters are in the center placed by the apostrophe. So the apostrophe is replacing the last letter of the preposition. Now, what is also happening is if there's a rough breathing mark. So we saw hemera earlier, which means day. And we have a rough breathing mark. Some of these prepositions change. Notably, the ones that have a tau or pi or p before them. So we're talking about this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So you notice that the tau becomes a theta, the pi or p becomes a phi, and that's pretty much every example. And we've seen this kind, I think, of elision and then also amalgamation of these letters before. So it's the same kind of thing when you add like a sigma to a tau, and no, that's not the right example. A sigma to a p in like pempo, and you get pempso, but then you're using the c. It's the same idea. So does this make sense that before a rough breathing mark, or before a smooth breathing mark, or there's just the deletion of the last vowel, but if it's before a rough breathing mark, you have the deletion, but also the transformation. Is that okay? All right. Now there are times when they straight up create another word. So here you have apa, ago, And you might think then you would have like op, ago. Right? As in now, maybe just like, yeah, let's just make a whole new word out of it. Apago. Apago, sorry. Apago. So I lead away. So, remember, apa means from, so I lead away from. So, last then comment here. Several New Testament verbs are compound verbs, that is, verbs composed of a simplex verb and a preposition that has been affixed to it. That's like the apago here. This preposition is called a prepositional prefix morpheme. Sometimes the meaning of a compound verb can be determined from the meaning of its component parts. An example is ekbalo, which I brought up earlier, which means I throw out. Ek means out, balo means throw. So ekbalo means I throw out. It's very obvious. At other times, the meaning of the verb is modified by the preposition in a way that makes it difficult, if not impossible, to explain the meaning. So if you had to guess, all right, don't look. Ana gnosko. All right, gnosko means I know. Ana means up. What would you think that would mean if you're going to create a new word out of ana gnosko?
Learn.
Yeah, learn, or maybe it's read. You know, I read, not I know up. Right?
It's like uploading word knowledge.
Yeah. So you would think, like in English again, like standing. You got upstanding, withstanding, understanding, and they all mean. You can kind of see the relationship with stand, maybe a little bit, maybe, but understanding. It's not immediately intuitive that if you combine under with standing, that you would get what when you know in your head, the word understanding, right? Probably not upstanding either. Like you get it if I explain it to you. Someone who stands up, like don't we all do that? No, it's someone who's up, who always does the right thing. So he's always standing up to take responsibility or to speak out. Like you start explaining, oh, maybe I see that there, but it's not natural necessarily. Upstanding, and then understanding so different in a way too. So it's kind of like that if you want an English analogy. When a compound verb is augmented, this is what we need to care about. The augment is placed between the preposition and the simple verb. Hence, the imperfect of ekbalo is ex-ebalon. Ex-ebalon. If the preposition ends in a vowel, the vowel is usually dropped, elided, or elision before a verb that begins with a vowel and before an augment, as in apathnesko, imperfect apethneskan. Okay, we'll talk about it in a second. I'll break that down in a second. In the New Testament, the preposition used in a prefix is often repeated with a noun or pronoun in the appropriate case without any additional significance. For example, ekbalo, ton paneron ek tu oiku. I throw the evil man out of the house. And he's saying you have out here and the out here, and it's not like anything more meaningful. It's redundant, but you don't have to make like a real big deal about it. Like, oh, he just doubly threw them out in the house or the evil man out. It's just the way they did it. So it's not anything to be redundant in that case. All right, so let's go back just a minute to talk about what's happening in terms of verbs and trying to break them down. So using apathnesko for a minute here.
Is that one on the screen?
Oh. Oops. Okay. Thanks, go. What they're saying is the augment doesn't happen here. For, remember the epsilon, the past time morpheme? It goes instead here, between the preposition and the lexical root, if I put it that way. So if you put this epsilon there, what you get is pet. And then was it apothneston? So it goes in between, and you drop out the vowel of the preposition, and that's where you put in the morpheme. In the case of ex-epsilon, I'm not exactly sure where that extra, because you would think it's like epsilon, but I need to check why it turns into exceed there. Do you know what I'm talking about? From here to here, you would expect something like this. Where you put it in between. But there's a C appearing. Let me see if Black, does he explain that? Just threw that in there?
Give us a different
Yeah, just threw that in there. I was looking at this last night too, and I went to look it up this morning. Let me just double check here. Yeah, the compound verb is augmented. Augment is placed between the preposition and the simplex verb. Hence, the imperfect is ekbalo, is exero. But why? Let's see. Let me just check one more thing.
Is it because you're adding a S, not a S, sigma as well? Or no, that's at the.
Well, the sigma you add if it's an aorist, right? But it comes after. Yeah. Let me see here. Give me a reason. Give me a reason, David. I'll get back to you on that. I feel like I'm missing something, but I was looking at this last time. I had to check this out. It's too late. I gotta check this out tomorrow morning. I forgot.
He throws it out like we would know.
Yeah. That's what happens sometimes when you just are so used to, something that in your mind you already, it's a given. But okay, well, I'll take a look. I can tell you that ekebalo is not something that sounds good in Greek, so I can see why they would do something, but why sigma? I wonder if it has to do with no, that's not it. Huh. No, I gotta, I'll take a look at it. I'll see if I can find a reason.
I had a question real quick.
Yes.
On the lesson 7 quiz.
Yes.
I think it was a typo, but with the verbs you're supposed to parse,
Yes.
there was a word, ectodascomen. I don't think the K was supposed to be that.
Oh, let me see. On the quiz
Yeah.
for 7.
Yeah.
Let me see what the book says. The quiz should be derived from the book, but I think it was done by hand. So, what number? Exercise? Do you have any?
Well, it was on the quiz.
Is it the Edidox and Ha Apostles? Tus Mathitas?
I can just read it.
Okay.
It's on the person.
Oh,
Because I think it uses it in one of the sentences.
yes, yeah, you're right. It's a typo.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought okay, I don't mean to throw my old mentor under the bus, but he made those, and he sent them to me. He made them and he sent them to me, And I remember going through, because there's another typo in the 3 or 4 quiz. There's another typo there too.
Okay.
I think it's just a breathing mark or something. And I remember going through and fixing these. But yeah, maybe not. I know I fixed 1 or 2, but maybe others have slipped my attention. So yeah, you're right. There's no such thing as equinox.
Okay.
So good catch.
Just now that we were talking about like prefixing
Yes.
prepositions, that's like,
Yeah.
we're good at it.
So I will look up the Exabala thing.
Just a quick thing about quizzes, by the way.
Yes.
Is there any way you could do these in like a 12-point font? Because the over 40 set is really struggling.
Okay. I can print those out bigger. Let me write a couple
that'd be
notes.
How about 24?
Yeah.
That's good, okay.
I think I was struggling also.
I do it on my laptop with the stylus and just like zoom in as big as I can.
I'll try that, 'cause
Yeah.
stylus for this.
Yeah, that worked really well.
If I have, how'd you get the test in here?
He emailed it out.
You can write on a PDF? Is that what you're saying?
No, you
Yeah.
can write, yeah, you can. Yeah, I'll show you
Yeah.
in here, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I can use that, because that would really help me.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Then I might be able to get through the first test.
Go, Trey, go.
No problem.
Tried it several times.
Okay. Any other questions? Or anything about any questions about previous lessons or anything else? As usual, if you can, do the odd numbered questions. The vocabulary for this chapter is not too much, I think, because it's mainly the prepositions, and they added like 4 compound verbs. So trying to get to the prepositions. One that we didn't talk about, so anti or anti, which is instead of, in place of. So that's always going to mean that. It's a one case preposition. And soon is with in dative. So you notice that the genitives and the datives, that is where a lot of stress comes from, in my opinion, and interpretation. Is what kind of genitive or dative is this? The prepositions are very helpful, and you're always thankful when they're there because it generally clarifies it. But then there's a lot of times you just have a genitive hanging out, and then you got to figure out, well, what is the relationship of this genitive to the noun? And that gets tricky. So be thankful when there's a preposition because typically they're helping out. You know, this whole time I did not have my mic on.
That's right.
No, it picks up on the ambient mic, but it's just not as good. It's the second time in a row I've done that. All right, I need to put a reminder. Okay, there it is. So soon and auntie, we didn't talk about in ana, but they mean the same thing typically in the sentence. So up for ana, auntie is instead of, in place of, or for, like the Antichrist. And then soon is with, and so many English words, of course. If it starts with S-Y-N, sin, S-Y-N, then it's from this Greek preposition, with. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, oh, yes.
That's another one.
Yes, no problem.
Too many, I hit my maps.
It's okay, it's okay.
How come sometimes the accent marks go different directions depending on what's going on with the word?
Yeah, that is, again, that's why we don't focus too much on the Greek accents. It's not as, for our sake, it has to do with, not quite with speaking, but with, like emphasis, yes, but when there's like word changes and words next to each other, they would throw the accent in different places depending on what's going on. So there are times where the accent is helpful. So there's going to be a phrase that you learn. It's called, sounds weird, accented men or perfect men. And the reason it's going to be behind that is there's going to be like an augment like men, right? Which, you see that all the time. It's the first person plural endings for verbs, generally speaking. But if there's an accent on it, then it's a perfect. So that's where the phrase can come from, accented men or perfect men. And just has to do with things that are not intuitive to us as non-Greek speakers, but would have been for them on how it sounds. It just, we joke around. Actually, Catherine asked me, tell me how you say the word emphasis, right? Because in one of the studies it says emphasis, because it's like a joke, and grammar is, you put the wrong emphasis on it. And I think, Gary, you've said it before, and I've said, the right syllable, And it sounds funny to us to put the accent in a different place. And there's a lot of rules at play for where we put accents in English and where you don't put them. When a word could be either a verb or a noun, where you put the accent will make it either the verb or the noun. I'm going to try to think of one, and I'm not going to be able to right now because I'm on the spot. But yeah, that's a good one. Conscript and conscript. So which is which? A conscript is person, and a conscript is... So fragment, maybe. I don't know why I see fragment and fragment kind of thing. So it's very subtle, but it is meaningful. We don't typically focus on it, but that's the sort of thing that's happening, is that there's things happening either within the word as it undergoes these morphological changes that they want to throw the accent in different places. Or as we saw with Amy, it's, I think the word is enclitic, where it always throws the accent backward onto the word before it. So,
and that's why the accent mark changes, because that's what I'm wondering. Like, I saw it on an Amy where it was pointing out to the right, and then it was pointing back to the left.
Yeah, well, that one is even more subtle, and that's beyond my pay grade about like one versus the other. But yeah, but it really it has to do with rules that are happening in the Greek. Like there are rules that are happening in the Greek causing that to be that way. Yeah, so except for A, this is page 22, paragraph 23, except for A, the present tense of Amy is said to be enclitic, throwing its accent back on the last syllable of the preceding word. So, ha de agrasestin. So, agrasestin. So anytime a word is before, but it just, that was just a rule. That just sounds right. Like we would understand some ways to place the emphasis is right and wrong on a sentence or a word. So it's not that it's inscrutable, but for the most part, we don't necessarily need to concern ourselves because we're not pronouncing it, and the only times we will concern ourselves with it is when it may be helpful, like the accented men or perfect men kind of thing, where it might be helpful, to us. So even me being enclitic, it's just such a normative thing, they're just pointing it out, but really functionally, does it change anything about the translation of that passage? None at all. It only matters when you're speaking it. The agrasestin, the field is, whatever. That has nothing to do with the translation of it, but it's such a common facet, he's pointing it out. And if you delve into Greek, you will find more characteristics about accenting. Like Hebrew has almost like a weighted system where words, kind of want to have a balance in the vowels, and the accenting, there's no we're going to get deep in the weeds, but it has more to do with the vowels and the sounds of the vowels, but it wants to weight the word. So like a ship, it's not too heavy to one side, too heavy to the one side, in the front or the back. So they do things with the vowels to make it weighted right. So it's just every language does that or has a system of that. But it's not like, say, Chinese, where the accents or the tones change the meaning of the word. That's not typically what's happening here. But sometimes they give us a little hint about what's going on, maybe whether there has been some morphological changes in the word. If you're studying Koine and you're trying to make connections to Attic and other Greek from the past, previous to Koine, the accents might help you track word changes and maybe, oh, this is related to this word and this change happened and that's why the accent gets thrown back and forth or something like that. So it gets more technical again beyond what I've ever studied with the accents. But I would not be able to tell you the difference between this one and this one. Yeah, unfortunately. Except that one is grave and one is acute. And that's as much as David Allenbach says too. I don't even know if in the more advanced grammars they even talk about it more, now that I think about it. So, okay, anything else?
I do have a question about like the vocab from last week.
Yes.
So if I'm like writing flashcards to memorize these, a lot of these words are words we've already learned.
Yes.
Like verbs we've already learned in their active, well, present, like present active forms.
Yes.
And these are just like the aorist forms.
Yes.
Would you just write it on the same card?
Yeah.
Or not just put another form underneath or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just put, unless you feel like it would be beneficial, say akuo and then ekusa. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay.
Yeah, only if you found it helpful. I think the only reason that he does this
Well,
is-
especially the second aorist, because the stem changes
yeah,
like a lot.
yeah. And I think in the first aorist ones, he's putting things that that are unique. So the verbs that start with a vowel, they kind of look different. You know, remember the lengthening, so akuo to ekusa. And then he also has there the ones where the root is different than what you might expect. So it's not a root change, so it's not a second aorist, but again, like baptizo, in the first aorist, it's a first aorist, not a second aorist, because the root is baptid and not baptids. And so that's why he's putting it there, because these are all unique in some way. Blepo, blepsa, because there's a amalgamation. The edidoxa is because, again, the root is didak and not didask. So I think he's got a reason for picking those, but you're right, if you want to do it that way. Does that make sense? Like, he's picking these ones because there's something unique about them in their look than following exactly the paradigm because of, you know, something that starts with a vowel or the root is like different than the present active indicative, or there's amalgamation. So did that kind of make sense? That explanation make sense to you guys? All right.
There are some words that have both first and second aorist, but not many.
Yeah. I think the hamartia or hamartesa, and then a nenka. And remember a nenka, because what happens when you have two gutturals together? You guys remember? Yeah, it's pronounced like a nenka. Yeah, like the example is, remember, angelos. Like, where's the new coming from? And when you have two gutturals next to each other, the first one turns into a nu, and so it's pronounced angelos, which is why we have angel with this. Okay, anything else? Jared, any questions? A million. Okay, let me pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for minds and bodies, and for words and relationships between words, for this great, again, gift of communication, where the relationships between words is the very basis for so much of our relationship to people, because we relate to them in these words. And so there's a certain, a humanity, organicness, relationality in studying language, because we're talking about the very substance of how we communicate to each other and learn and grow, teach and be taught by others, share and commiserate and dialogue and debate and argue sometimes. It's with words. And so the relationship between these words has so much to do with our relationship to each other, and especially when it comes to your holy word. The relationship between the clauses and phrases, even the different cases of words in the New Testament and in the Old Testament, they're the basis of the relationships we have with each other. So we care. We care about all your words. We care about even the case that the words are in, and these prepositions, oftentimes just a few letters long, they make such a big difference. Christ died, huper, on the behalf of sinners. That's a very important preposition. And so we thank you. We thank you for your word, and we pray that, again, you would continue to illuminate our minds as we set our hearts